Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. Today, I'm going to be jumping into the new Guild War, and I'm going to be giving you guys a breakdown on this boss fight. I'm going to show you guys a couple different teams, two teams that I built that are kind of different focused going into this. I know a lot of people, have different things, especially with Wind being kind of more spread out. But I'm going to give my overall thoughts on this, share some recommended team builds with you guys, and just kind of try to lay the base foundation for going into this Guild War. Now, to preface this, guys, I do not have a super ultra strong team. I think that I would say that the strongest team that is going to be built for this is going to be a double Wind DPS team, along with Aerith running the Floral Rod, because she can break physical defense along with Imperil Wind at the same time, and also raise physical attack to all allies with the Comrade 1. So Aerith is kind of a staple in this. Now the other two characters that are going into this, it's going to depend on what you can do. I haven't mocked anything past stage 1 as of right now, guys. And so I know that the boss is definitely going to get harder when you go into the later stages. So let's take a look at the Earth Dragon, which honestly is such a cool looking dragon. I love his like crown of ant. I just think he looks sick. All right, so his weakness obviously is Wind. Resistance is going to be Earth, and there's no sigil break in this fight. Okay, which is, it definitely makes it a little bit easier. Now, for his immunities, we have Poison, Darkness, Silence, Stun, Fatigue, and Fog, but he is not immune to any type of offensive breaks or defensive breaks. Now, this is what is important right here, all right? So the boss will grant self physical defense up, magic defense up, and wind resistance up with rock armor. Rock armor will get cast. Essentially, when the fight starts, there's going to be a bar that's kind of accumulating over time, and by doing wind damage you can keep this bar down. When this bar hits max, he will cast rock armor on himself, and as you guys can see here, it's going to significantly decrease your team's damage going into this. All right, so the force gauge can only be depleted with wind element ability. Also grants self physical attack up with the physical attack Mighty Chomp. All right, so there's a lot of different mechanics kind of going into this fight, and this is just my early impression of it. So I know that teams are going to, adapt and change as people figure out the most precise and basically the best way to take this out. But I wanted to give a general kind of overlay for this boss and how you can kind of approach it. All right, so I'm going to click into here. I'm going to show you guys two teams that I have set up. All right, so I'm going to show you guys this team first. This team is going to feature Sephiroth, Aerith, and Zack. It is a double wind DPS team with Aerith as a support slash healer, although in the early stages you won't really need a healer whatsoever, right? So for Sephiroth over here, I have a full Dark Heavens build with the costume. I'm running his regular limit break here because honestly, with the fact that there's a live counter, like the countdown in the actual thing, you're probably not going to be using limit breaks throughout the fight, not even for cancellations at all, until the very last moment when there's 1 second left on the clock, and then you'll probably smash all 3 of your limit breaks at the same time. All right, so I just have his regular limit break, so not the quicker casting one, not Heliacal Rising. Okay, so essentially right here, and I'm not going to really go into too much of the actual build itself. I'm just going to give you guys a brief overlay since I know that most people have totally different things. But I think one of the DPS staples for this fight is going to be Sephiroth here. Dark Heavens costume, and then the Shinra military sword. I only have it here at base 5-star. And honestly, without buff debuff extension, the buff does not last very long, but it does help in the fight. I do recommend waiting until 7 ATB to cast it so that you get the most out of it. For Sephiroth, I'm just running triple physical attack stat sticks right here, which I think is the best thing you can do. You do not really need materia in any way, shape, or form. For Aerith, I need 1 Cura here for the AoE Cura. But other than that, materia is all stat sticks, guys. So just keep that in mind. For Aerith here, if you guys can build this, it's going to be the Commodore dress, the Commodore wand, and then the floral rod, which at OB6, I believe, goes high on the Wind Imperil. Yeah, it goes high on the first cast on the Imperil, which is great. What's also great about this is it does a physical defense break. Unfortunately, it only goes to mid, but it basically makes her best in slot here for the imperiling job, especially because you get the physical defense break at the same time. Now, for my third DPS, a lot of people are running different things. You can run Yuffie, you can run Zac with the new Beatrix sword if you're super lucky. For me, I'm just running a very simple Zac build. It's not very strong. I'm running the HP buff debuff extension costume here. All right. The reason I am running that is because in his offhand, I'm running the Cutlass here, which can break physical defense to high. So this is going to take the Floral Wand's mid break and take it all the way to high, which is going to help increase the damage throughout the fight. In his main hand, I'm running the OB10 Falchion right here, which is an AoE weapon, but I don't have Yuffie and I don't have a strong motor drive with Tifa, so it kind of is what it is. I might try putting together a build with Tifa in the future, but I figured I would try this out. I never really used this weapon throughout the entire time I've been playing Ever Crisis, so I figured, why not, right? I don't have the Mithril ore to get it higher, but hopefully by the end of this Guild War I can. But this will deal 520% physical wind damage. It has pretty basic R abilities, 46 physical attack, 39 on the wind potency. But essentially that is how I'm going into it. Now, just to give you guys a quick look at my sub weapons for this build and my stats right here. So these are my stats on Sephiroth right here. And for the sub weapons, since I pulled the Falchion off Zac, I didn't have a great physical attack wind potency up weapon. So I pulled the Prism Rod from Aerith, which gives a HP and wind potency, which in this case works pretty well. I could probably get it higher if I had different sub-weapons, but it is what it is. I'm also running the Ultimatic right here from Glenn, and then actually the OB10 Buster Sword, which is cool to be able to bring that back out. All right, now if I jump over to Aerith right here, you can see that these are her stats over here. All right, her sub-weapons, and it's important to note that for Zac and Aerith, they're both going to be running Limit Break Draw physical attack up weapons. So for Aerith, she's running the Stream Saber right here, and for Zac, he is running the Glenn's Axe right there. And for the other sub-weapons, I have Centipede, Guard Stick for backup healing, or really a bunch of buff debuff extension right here. I could probably drop this for more buff debuff extension until you get to the harder levels, which I haven't actually tried past one. Tonight's a patch night for me. I've been just focusing on videos all night, and I wanted to kind of give you guys an overview of this event or the boss fight going into it. And lastly for Zac, like I said, we're going to have the second physical attack all up weapon. I have the Heavy Hauser here for attack and ability potency, and then I have the Ceremonial Sword Z for physical attack and physical ability potency, putting Zac at 5.5 physical attack, which is pretty solid. And with this team, you essentially have, you know, a double DPS with an Imperiler, with an AoE attack up all character, along with AoE healing. You have Sephiroth with his buff weapon, and Zac with his breaking physical defense weapon, along with off defense with the off DPS with the Cutlass. Now, I know there's going to be way stronger teams out there, guys. I know that. And I'm not sure how well this team will hold up against the harder fight. So I made a more of a defensive team. I know that these battles really call for high DPS loadouts, but I thought that a team that's more defensive might help for more points later on if you're just able to survive the fight long enough and actually stay in the fight longer to do more damage. So this fight is going to, or this setup is going to be exactly the same. The only difference here is Barret instead of Zac. The reason I brought in Barret is because the boss is going to use very strong physical attacks, right? So I'm still using the W machine for the physical defense break. So we have that. So Sephiroth is going to be able to do the same amount of damage as before. We're just losing another DPS in here. However, I did bring the assault gun with Barret right here, which raises our physical defense. So this will allow us to tank longer into the fight for those of you guys that may not have a secondary DPS or are having trouble surviving the later stages. Now, for the backup things right here. The only change is that I have the falchion on Sephiroth instead of the prism rod. All right, Aerith is exactly the same, and Barrett's setup is very similar, right? So we are still using the Glen Axe for the second physical attack up all, and then I'm focusing HP and buff debuff extension with the syringe rapier. There's several weapons that give HP buff debuff extension because I basically want that physical defense break to last as long as possible with him. These are his stats over here, as you guys can see. And then I just have the Glavinus sword for more HP and some physical ability potency as well. And Barrett, unlike the other two, actually will need one other materia, which is going to be an Aurora Blow on this build because that's going to be his only form of damage. And I am using his strongest limit break here, not Satellite Beam. You're going to be dropping these at the end of the fight. You could also run summons. You know, potentially I could run level 8 Diamond Dust on Shiva and then level 8 Leviathan. You know, I haven't had too much time to test, and I might do a follow-up video, you know, kind of showing what changes come into it over time into the fight. But I think this should be enough to get most of you guys on your feet and making a team for this coming Guild War, and I do wish you guys all the best out there. So that being said, I am going to go into this mock battle. My team is strong, but the fight is strong, guys. So my last run on this mock on stage 1 was only 90%. So not crazy, totally different than my last Guild War where I had Vincent's Limit Break Draw weapon up to OB10 and I was feeling super powerful. But I think it's still pretty fun, and I like the fact that, you know, I'll be playing a similar but different role throughout this fight, and I'll get to see other people absolutely crush it out there. So I am going to show you guys a mock fight just to show you guys the actual fight against the dragon itself. You'll see in stage 1, you don't have to worry about healing. You don't have to worry about really anything except doing as much damage as possible. You don't even have to block his attacks, his charge attacks whatsoever. The only goal throughout this fight is just to do as much damage as possible, keep your debuffs up as much as possible, your buffs up as much as possible, and basically try and kill him. So I'm going to try and kill him as much as I can right here. All right. So I'm going to get off all my buffs with everybody. All right, so I'll wait to do Theatrical Strike. Aerith is going to Floral Flare. And we are just going to go full-blown on the damage right here. And as you guys can see, there is definitely some lag going on. It is a thing. I hope that Applebot, you know, kind of gives us a boost to their servers at one point in time. We'll have to see how that works out. All right, so let's compare the damage. There's Zax right there, 531,000, not bad at all. All right, but as you guys can see, Sephiroth's, you know, Shinra's military blade does not do as much damage, or it does not last nearly as long as we would want it to, right? I wish it lasted longer, to be honest. That's where that buff debuff extension costume would really come in handy, I think. All right, here we go. I'm going to Theatrical Strike. Make sure I get the physical attack buff up on Sephiroth right here. All right, and like I said, you don't even need to block this. The boss is so weak at this point in time that he can't really damage you. See, as you guys can see, he ain't doing nothing right now. All right. But I'm going to keep on doing as much damage as I can. We got 1 minute and 7 seconds left. And like I said, I'm just going to be saving my limit breaks until the end. All right. All right, here we go. Kind of fun fighting the super easy one. All right, Sephiroth is the attack up is about to wear off, so I'm going to re-up that right now. All right, the boss can break your physical attack from what looks like. All right, going to Floral Flare. Basically just alternating back and forth on Aerith. All right, here we go. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between mock and live fights here in a second, after this fight. All right, very close here, guys. All right, so we're going to get basically one more attack right here, maybe two, when the boss gets out. Oh, it's going to be very close. All right, there's 7, 5, 4. And here's Zach's last attack right here. Oh, no way. Okay, that's pretty crazy, actually. But here's the thing, guys. So I'm going to let you guys know one more thing. So in this fight, as we know, since Applebot has not actually fixed the... Heck yeah, beat it. But here's the thing, guys. In my live fight, I wouldn't have actually made it that far. And we've done some testing with you. We've done some testing on this fight to figure out what is the discrepancy between the mock and the actual live. How long are these, because in the mock right now, the timer stops when a limit break is cast or when the boss casts one of his abilities that, takes up an animation. But when you go to the live fight, that countdown timer is still going to keep ticking. And so it's a little bit tricky. Applebot says that they are going to give us they're going to fix this and make them match the mock and the live, starting with the 3rd Guild War. But as of right now, there is a discrepancy between the two. And so what we have come to is that if you want to get a more accurate run, you're going to want to quit out around 30 seconds remaining. If you stop the fight with 30 seconds remaining, this should account for 2 of his attacks and him also going into his rock form just in case you didn't have the DPS to prevent him from going into that form, right? Now, if you do have the DPS, you're going to have a little bit longer, maybe 24 seconds, 25 seconds. But yeah, that being said, that is going to essentially conclude my basic general layout for this Guild War. Of course, if you guys have questions, I'm happy to help you guys as well. I know there's a bunch of different teams that can be put together. Sephiroth Yuffie is going to be very popular, I think, on this one. But I think just go out there, have fun, hit me up in the comments if you guys have any questions, and I'll be happy to help you guys out as best I can. So that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video today, please don't forget to drop a like. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis content. I wish you guys all the best of luck in the Guild War. Hope you guys have a lot of fun. Don't get too stressed out. Huge shout out to the Curseborn Flagship Alliance. And if you guys are looking to join a guild in the future, you should come join our Discord. We have 13 guilds, all of them in the top 100. And some of them are recruiting here and there. I know that during the Guild Wars, you can't actually recruit or I think kick members, but there is a link to join our Discord in the description of all my videos. So we welcome you guys to come join us, hang out, do co-ops, just hang out and enjoy Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. That being said, hope you all have a wonderful night. Take care and peace.